something I've been thinking about for a really long time is potentially making my own, basically D&D like game. So it'd be very similar to Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, it's a tabletop game where you basically use your imagination, create your own character, and you go on adventures. But there's a lot of things that I don't like about this game. And it's not that I don't like Dungeons and Dragons, it's that I don't like some of the systems. In particular, I don't like the way that you choose a class. I don't really like the way that the magic system's laid out. I don't like stuff like that, right? I feel like for a game that almost promotes this creativity and this creative world into making your character the way that you desire, I feel like it's become very, very limiting. Even in older editions, it's very, very limiting on what you can do. And there is different versions of Dungeons and Dragons, right, that are basically just the same thing. You have like Pathfinder, you have Palladium, you have Arcana. It's like, yeah, you have all these other varieties, but they still don't give that magic sauce that I want. And what I mean by that is I want a magic system that is full creative freedom. And I mean, like, obviously, maybe there's some steps to it. You make it where you can't just, like, come out casting, a world ending spell, but you make it where your players have to, like, train or they have to uh, figure out how they would use the spell or something like that, in a practical way. I think a really good example of this is the original Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, or you look at something like the Sorcerer's Apprentice movie, where the mages in that, or like Merlin essentially, has infinite spells, but all of his spells are things that he's created as a utility for something else he's needed, essentially. And I think that that's the type of magic I like, right? I like when there's that type of creativity because it means you are as powerful as your imagination allows you to be. And the same thing goes with like sword slinging and stuff like that is when it comes down to it, most people that would be like a swordsman, for example, in a world full of mages would probably have some magic too. Just realistically, it wouldn't make sense that over the course of thousands of years the gods only blessed wizards with magic, but they never blessed a swordsman. You know, and people will go into, well, what about paladins and things of that sort? But I don't really think a paladin is blessed in like being a magic swordsman or something like that. Is more just blessed by a god because of their worship or because of something they're doing. And I've always just had this kind of dream or desire to essentially allow people to play a game where they can truly do whatever they like. Now, I would love to make this a video game 100%. I think it's almost nearly impossible with the current technology, I guess you could say, we have with gaming. I just don't believe we are there yet, but I do think I can easily make this into a tabletop where you can make anything you want. You can make anything you desire. You can, if you want to make a character that from an anime, you can, right? And I think that's just something that D&D very much limits these days. It's limited to a lot of aspects, a lot of overall world creativity, and things of that sort. And I think something with the game that I'm thinking about making is I want to write it in a way where you're still the game master, right? You still make the rules, you still do all these things, but I want it to seem as if there's so much creative liberty that it actually makes the game master excited because he doesn't know what he is going to face sometimes. Sometimes like in Dungeons and Dragons, you might get a guy who loves playing a barbarian, let's per se, and he might take like a barbarian subclass that's like that you just haven't read on before, and like it's a little bit of a shocker, but it doesn't really matter, right? Because at the end of the day, you go read up on it. It is what it is. Funny moment, haha. You got. But I want to take that to the next level. I want to add that wow and shock factor to everyone and everything. I mean, imagine you are playing a samurai that can cast like wind magic to allow himself to like float around and gain speed, and then all of a sudden a guy who has like a quirk or a superpower essentially to like fly in super strength comes out of nowhere. And I just think that that would be 10 times more fun in my book, right? I used to play this game when I was a kid with my brother. I'm not going to mention it because it might be end up being the name of the game that I make. But I used to play this game, and it was very similar to how I'm describing, where it's like the mass crossover and mass creativity. You could be anyone from any universe. You could have any power from any universe, and basically the only thing was is how balanced like the person who was essentially running the game thought it would be at the time. And if they think like, oh no, there's we're just at a stage where like your character wouldn't be that OP, then they wouldn't be that OP. And it might sound like how are you going to balance this? But I think over the next couple weeks, maybe months, whatever, how long it takes, I'm going to slowly start posting stuff about it on the channel, and I just want to get like your guys' opinion on it. Maybe we'll do like a play session too once it's complete. But it's something I've been working on for a long time in general, and I really, really just have this like vision and desire to make this like really cool, fun game that that completely blows Dungeons and Dragons out of the water. And I love Dungeons and Dragons. I have all the way back to all the first edition books. I've been playing second edition since I was 7 years old. But I've always thought like, man, it'd be so cool to be able to like play this race, do this thing, and don't not have any like defaults or buffs or anything like that. Like everybody's just kind of the same, you know. Eh, but we will probably still make races, and they'll probably have like different racial buffs instead, if that makes sense. Like if you're an orc, you might be like better at melee combat, so maybe like you'll get an advantage in melee combat or something like that. But yeah, that's what I really want to talk about today was a little bit of rant about, I mean, a game that I really want to create. And if you guys are interested in it, let me know, and we might do a little bit of a play session on the channel at some point once we have it more flushed out and just overall in a better sense where I actually have like rights and stuff to it. Because like I said, I don't want to be stolen or something. I don't think like you guys are gonna steal it, but like if it works the way that I think it's gonna work, I might not ever play Dungeons and Dragons ever again. That was it. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.